It's Madden NFL 22, and the wait is over for
This is Dave Klein reading for Richard Wakeling. After criticism that last year's game was light on new content, particularly as it relates to franchise mode, developer EA Tiburon has introduced a number of sweeping changes this time around for Madden 22, with the crowd being the most prominent right out of the gate.
Here's the Australian-born punter Mitch Wishnowsky to get things going. And off we go from Seattle.
The new Game Day Atmosphere feature brings crowds to life with new animations and remastered fan recordings that more accurately replicate what you're likely to see and hear on any given Sunday. It also extends beyond the cosmetic side too, as the ball will fly further in Denver's high altitude, while the wind will play havoc with your field goal team in Chicago. On top of this, the intensity of the home fans will have an impact on the way games can play out. This feature is called Game Day Momentum, and it introduces a momentum meter to the top of the screen that will shift back and forth like a tug of war depending on the performance of each team. If momentum is on your side, you'll gain access to various bonuses, called M factors, that give your team an edge in certain situations. This works in tandem with Game Day Atmosphere to ratchet up the significance of home field advantage, especially when playing in front of crowds known for their vociferousness.
To throw is Garoppolo. Man open, that's Deebo Samuel.
It looks and sounds a tad gamified on the surface, but Game Day Momentum and Atmosphere are crucial additions that capture the unique fandom of each team and accurately reflect the wild swings of momentum that can occur during the course of a heated football game. It gives rivalries that big game feel and intensifies those drives where the home fans are fervently working against you. The impact of home field advantage in the NFL is tangible and can often be the difference between winning and losing. Yet Madden 22 marks the first time the series has truly emulated such an integral part of the sport. Next-gen stats also contribute to the game day experience by snazzing up the broadcast package. Replays will show how many seconds it took a blitzer to collide with the quarterback or count up how many yards a receiver racked up after the catch on a big play. Aside from adding to the presentation, however, next-gen stats have a much more significant impact on gameplay in comparison. Madden 22 utilizes the NFL's next-gen stats data to drive its AI behavior, resulting in more dynamic games against the CPU. Quarterbacks will react differently from each other when under pressure. Some are more likely to attempt throws into tight windows, and ball carriers will differ when it comes to attempting to evade tackles or break through them. You'll also see superstar wide receivers use signature cuts and releases off the line to try and get open when the defense presses, while a suite of new animations make everything feel more fluid and responsive, whether you're throwing the ball downfield or bursting through a hole at the line of scrimmage. Tackling in particular looks more natural and varied, and is more satisfying as a result.
Some 9. If they have any thoughts of coming in here and getting this road victory, that's not the way to start it out on the first play of the game.
In franchise mode, these improvements to AI help diversify each week of the grueling NFL season. Each team has its own personality and play calling style, so no one game is similar to the last. To counteract each team's strengths and exploit their weaknesses, franchise has been overhauled with new weekly strategies. Now, next-gen stats will give you a breakdown of how good a team is in a number of specific areas on both sides of the ball, from executing outside runs and medium passes to blitzing the quarterback and defending short passes. With this information on hand, you can choose a game plan that gives you the best chance to win. Against the Steelers, for instance, you might opt to counter their aggressive blitz. Then, in the next game, you might focus on containing the quarterback in an attempt to stop the Cardinals' Kyler Murray from scrambling for yards on the ground. While you spend the week leading up to a game working on strategy, the halftime break gives you a chance to alter the plan if things aren't working, or you want to adopt a different approach because you're, say, up big or trailing behind. Managing your players' fatigue and injuries is another part of the weekly strategy too. You might want to go all out in practice before facing a rival team to boost your players' XP, but you need to weigh up the risks with the rewards in case one of your key players ends up injured on the eve of the contest. One of the franchise's other new features can at least mitigate injuries to some extent. Your head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and player personnel all have their own RPG-style skill trees. By meeting game day and longer-term goals, you'll unlock staff points that can be spent on improving your staff in multiple areas, such as decreasing injury recovery time. Improving your staff results in better development of your players, giving franchise a rewarding loop, as better players means you're more likely to complete goals to in turn improve your coaches again. Each of these new and revised systems gives Madden 22 greater strategic depth beyond simple roster construction. If you're playing as a head coach, franchise also introduces storylines over the course of each season to reflect the ups and downs a team must endure. These scenarios add faint narrative elements to the game, but mostly it's another way to improve players by setting them dynamic goals. If a player performs well during preseason, you might talk to them about having a big game to start the regular season. This will give you a game day goal to continue their breakout, earning more staff points if you're successful. Scouting, on the other hand, is unchanged at the moment, but developer Tiburon expects to launch a new scouting system for free in September. Ultimate Team and the Yard also return, but are mostly untouched from last year. The latter, a unique 6-vs-6 backyard football experience, adds new fields, including Hawaii, and a new ranked mode so you can test your skills against other players. Progression in the Yard is also unified across face of the franchise, United We Rise, so all players' progress, rewards, and gear are shared between the two modes. Face of the franchise is also similar to last year, only now you're able to play as either a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, or linebacker. The story here is cliched and stale, with stilted cutscenes and a lack of chemistry amongst its small cast. Watching a young player go through college before entering the draft is an overused plot at this point, even if Madden 22's version focuses on the relationship between a player and his agent as opposed to something like a teammate rivalry. There isn't enough here to warrant playing face of the franchise over the regular franchise mode. The addition of a new class-based system that defines your playstyle is a nice touch, giving you specific X-Factor abilities to work towards unlocking, but unless you like taking a created character through an NFL season, there isn't enough depth nor incentive to devote time to face of the franchise. It's not without its fair share of glitches either. The subtitles during cutscenes often disappear, music will sometimes overpower dialogue, and your created character's face has a tendency to completely change at random. Madden 22 also has a habit of crashing throughout all modes, giving the impression that it's not quite ready to launch yet. You can pick back up where you left off after most of these crashes, but occasionally it will freeze at the end of a game and wipe all of your progress. Leaving a game in progress and returning to it later will also reset your game day goals, even if you've completed them, and sometimes a win will count as a loss in franchise. These technical issues put a damper on Madden 22, particularly since it finally addresses franchise with a number of meaningful additions. When everything's working as intended, Madden 22 marks a recent high point for this series. The gameplay doesn't move the needle much mechanically, but changes to the AI make for a more interesting and varied challenge, while game day atmosphere and momentum brings every team's fans to life to palpable effect. With franchise making the moments between these games more engaging, it's relatively easy to sink hours into building a team to challenge for the Super Bowl. It's just unfortunate that this comes with the caveat that technical problems might prove to be the biggest obstacle standing in your way.
He'll let this go deep for Sutton. And this is dropped. Oh boy. A chance for a big play early, but he could not secure it.
Nice play there to force the incompletion.